Would anyone like to comment at this time? Yes, Ellen.
Just my comments again have to do with the charter revision questions, and I would be happy to speak at that point in the meeting if you preferred, but I looked at the questions that you had proposed in last week's minutes, which are considerably abbreviated from the ones that we had worked through with our attorney. My only concern was the specific mention of the June 20th date. And, you know, in the petition, we cited June 20th as the final report of the Charter Revision Commission, which is the charter version that was acted upon by this body on the 5th of July. Just making sure that we're all on the same page as to the version we're talking about. And also the fact that, you know, since the questions are much more brief and you don't specifically refer to the sections that of the charter that we're talking about in each question, is that something that will be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting where you approve the questions? In other words, stating that approval of question 1 implies acceptance of section such and such, approval of question 2 implies approval of, you know, the other sections, etc. Including for question 3, there's certain sections that would be approved only if question 1 is not approved. All of that is in the version that, you know, that we had submitted. Both my version and yours are in last week's minutes, and perhaps by cross-reference that's already taken care of. I don't know, but I did want to make certain that it was absolutely explicit as to which version and which sections the questions addressed.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to make any comments on this? Nobody else? Now we get into the interesting thing. Discussion on the charter revision, specifically, as Ellen so clearly stated this morning, we were talking about the version as presented by the Charter Revision Commission on June 20th of this year to the Board of Selectmen. In the process of finalizing the questions to be used for the November 7th intended referendum on the town manager, town planner, and other amendments, it was pointed out to the board yesterday that should the referendum pass in favor of a town manager, that it would actually go into effect 30 days after the date of a positive, in favor vote. So therefore, by December 7th, we would have the town manager in place. And this sets off a lot of bells and whistles as to the process, as to responsibility, accountability, authorities. If we are to assume that we somehow...
Bruce, maybe if you explain why that came to your attention yesterday.
John, would you like to jump in here?
We were discussing the schedule, publishing the requirement to publish the charter revisions in any event, regardless of whether there's going to be a referendum or not. And the rest of the schedule says that it's the statute requires that it go into effect 30 days after passage unless there's been another effective date called for in the amendments, and one was never put into the amendments. So it's
on the last document that we received.
Right. So it defaults to 30 days. It goes in, all of it goes into effect 30 days after the vote.
So when initially it was proposed it wasn't going to take effect till 2019 with the town manager, town administrator at that time. But that amended document never included a date, apparently.
Apparently, I mean, none that I've seen.
I didn't see anything.
The original, I mean, the version that I reviewed for legality had a to be determined notation in it, and it was never determined, as far as I can tell.
So does that leave it open? If it says to be determined?
No, because it's already been gone through the petition process, and now has to go to a vote.
So what are the options available to the town? The option
There aren't
is
any.
30 days
You vote on
or
it.
0?
You vote on it whenever this body determines to vote on it between now and approximately 15 months from now. So you can have it at your November election, you can defer it for 2
If
months.
we had it at the November election, the revised charter would have to go into effect on December 2nd,
On December 7th,
2017,
If
Right.
it passes.
if it
if
passes.
it passes.
With regard to all aspects as that.
All aspects that pass.
Okay.
So it's conceivable that the town manager portion could be voted no, and we wouldn't have a problem, but if there's a yes vote, I just to make it clear, 30 days goes
Whatever
by,
passes goes into effect in 30 days after
and
the
then
vote.
conceivably, we then have a Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen with no power. after
Well, no,
30
you won't
days.
have a Board of Finance because you will.
Well, you will still
You'll
have
have some
elected
votes.
officials that you
Because
can't
they're-
remove because they're elected.
Because they were elected, they
But
just
they
don't
would have
have
no
the
power.
power
Well,
initially.
So yes, effectively, there would be no
Yeah,
Board of Finance.
I haven't looked at that question, but I actually think that you just no longer have a Board of Finance.
And the way I look at all this is that then we have 5 people sitting, whoever they may be after the election, who are able to discuss policy, but who can't sign contracts, who can't move money, who can't appropriate, who can't, is
Yeah,
that,
but
that's my
unless
understanding.
you find a town manager, in that case,
And what if you don't?
you got a problem.
But then,
Right.
I mean, is there a way to delegate interim authority?
It's not called for in the.
It's not in the document, I know. Right.
so essentially, the vote should not take place until a town manager can conceivably be put in place. However, if you don't have a vote and you don't have the slot or the money,
Well,
how
you
can you
don't,
advertise for the position?
well, you don't know, yes, anybody who'd be willing to take the position doesn't know that they're gonna get
It's
it.
contingent upon
Because of
approval.
the-
Is at their own peril.
So you have a 30-day search window, essentially.
Okay, so if I could just get to a few key points here. So with regard to all contracts, we'd be in a holding pattern. Purchases, sales of property, all financial matters, enforcing policy, all human relations and administrative duties, hiring, firing, all activities relative to boards and commissions, and department heads and committees, emergencies, storms, emergency appropriations could not be done. All financial decisions relative to capital or operational, literally everything would be in a holding pattern. So, your Board of Selectmen not only has fiduciary responsibility to prevent the town from uncertain financial control, but all other responsibilities, authority, and accountabilities for setting and enforcing policy, as I said, all contracts, all financial matters, moving money around in emergencies. All of these decisions would in fact be in jeopardy, since we would not only have difficulty finding a town manager and a town planner in 30 days, and by the way, not to mention the costs associated with salaries and benefits not approved in our budgets, and technically all important decisions made by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance would come to a halt on December 7th if we did not have a town manager in place. So given this information, it is imperative that the Board of Selectmen, in my opinion, slows the process of giving the voters a referendum on the town manager, etc., and those amendments, so that that does not cause chaos. As I said from the beginning, the document needed more work to get it right. So I recommend that we slow the process down. That's my opinion. Anybody else like to make a comment?
I think
Fritz.
we don't have a job description, we don't have any of that stuff in place at this point. So you can't even advertise at this point.
We don't have even the authority to do it unless.
Well, right now we could. We could put together a job description and advertise and all that, but until that's done, until you have a job description in place, we can't even
I
advertise.
don't think we even have the authority to,
Oh, we could
Go
develop
out.
a job description.
We don't
I
have
don't
to hire.
think we have the authority to
No,
hire
but so
anybody.
what we're saying is just simply that we can take the time, first, if this is going to referendum, so I think what Willie's saying is that we can use the time to create a job description.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying, he's not saying let's put it out to advertise, he's just saying use the time.
You have to develop a job description, you have to develop a plan of action, and that doesn't mean you're advertising a hiring, but you have to be ready to if and when.
We've got to get the money in the budget, that's a good point, obviously.
Well, you have to set the wheels in place. I don't want to speak for the commission, but I don't think it was their intent to have this happen within 30 days after passing.
don't
Could
think
I
it would be.
speak as a member of the commission at some point, please?
Yeah, Len, go ahead. I mean, your charter revision, so you're here.
Good. Bruce, I'm sorry, John, we gave this document to you several times. We gave it to you before your final going through, before we submitted it to the town. Why wasn't this a red flag? Why weren't we notified about that omission?
Because I understood that you were going to determine it, because it says on the draft that I got, to be determined. And I assumed that it was going to be determined.
I think as our town attorney, it would have been, you are the attorney, we are citizens who are putting, I think it really behooved you to explain to us the detriment at that point.
That's regrettable, but as I say, I understood that, everybody understood that there had to be an effective date put on the front cover of the document.
And everybody understood that it was going to be, all discussions of your committee was 2 years hence.
Exactly. I mean, and obviously all of the ideas that you're expressing now about, of course it is untenable to have this take place in 30 days. That just cannot happen. It's not responsible.
Yep.
However, I think that we really needed you to say, put the date on. And I'm really upset that that didn't happen. This should have, you are the attorney who was vetting it, and I wish you should have done that.
There's no going back or amending at this point because of the
They're not
petition.
permitted to change.
It's been sent through to...
No, I mean, I know we can't, but
Yeah.
Nobody can.
it's got to go to referendum as is.
And the commission by statute has been disbanded because it submitted its report.
Bruce? Bruce?
Yes, sir.
I'm also a member of the Charter Commission. I respectfully disagree with Lynn. What's happened here is that we discussed at great length what the start date would be. It was our job to put it in. We could have put it in. It was the fact that we went around the normal process. I think it was terrible that people from the commission went, and for lack of a better word, went rogue from the process. Now this has become a political football, and we're in a crisis. And of course we're in a crisis, because we didn't follow the process that was laid out for us in the beginning. I don't know if, where you go from here. I don't know if you can undo the
Well, I disagree.
reconvene, ask the petitioners to undo it. But this is a real crisis.
And I would like to suggest, and Town Attorney Bennet can tell me if I'm way off base, but I drafted something this morning for folks to consider. We could possibly make a motion today to at least approve the questions to the voters that you and we worked on for a referendum to be held early in 2018 after the document has been given further review and consideration by a new charter revision commission to be convened by whoever is the Board of Selectmen in 2018 and approved by the Board of Selectmen in conjunction with that review and consideration by that new charter revision commission. We would see that it would be moved forward as quickly as possible and as reasonably as possible. But we cannot and should not go forward and put this town in crisis at this time.
Bruce, can
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
comment on that? I don't see any reason to go back and reform or have them review the document. You can't change it. So there's no point. This document has to go to referendum by statute.
Has to go, you have to
And I
have
also-
an up or down vote on what you've got.
So there's no point in reconvening. They're done. They're disbanded by statute. You can't reconvene. You can go to referendum, have it passed or up or down, and then this board or a petitioning body can then reform a charter revision commission to maybe amend the document after the fact.
Finish the
But you
job.
can't reconvene the current commission.
I'm not
Second,
suggesting that you reconvene the current commission.
that's what you said.
No, I did
No,
not.
so point of the
No.
I said appoint another.
And I think, as far as setting a date for a referendum, I think it just needs to state sometime, it needs to be before the deadline. I don't know what our deadline is.
15 months
So,
from the
so-
certification of the petition,
Yeah.
so approximately.
I just want to be clear that we can't change the document that's been put before us and it must be voted on. I just want people to
Right.
understand that. And I think whatever deadlines we put on ourselves has to be enough time to now have us understand all of the things that have to occur before it goes into place if there's a positive vote or an affirmative vote.
So that's where we are. Any other comments from my board?
No, I'd like to approve the questions at least.
So would I.
I'd like to maybe talk a little bit more with you. I don't know. We gotta find out what we need to get in place to make this actually happen. Besides the charter itself, what administratively has to be put in place to allow for this change in the form of government for this town to happen. Without knowing that, I don't know, we don't even know what we need to prepare. I know we need to do a job description, but that's about it.
We can't even advertise until
Well, no, you can't advertise till it passes.
all the money's in the budget.
Well, if the charter passes with that position in there, then the town has no choice but to fund it.
Just wanted to take it.
You have to appropriate it. Because it's a mandate.
You can't do that to the manager.
Just to update you.
Well, the state can come in and take over.
Yeah.
Mary is going to make copies for the board right now of John's reworking of our questions. We were pretty much on the money, but there is a little legalese that needed to be added
I was
to the
never
questions. And so you will all be furnished with copies, but these are the questions as it stands right now. Number one, shall the Clinton Town Charter as amended to provide for contracting for the hiring of a town manager and associated changes in the authorities and duties of the first selectman and the Board of Selectmen, and to eliminate the Board of Finance and associated changes as recommended in the final report for the Charter Revision Commission of June 20, 2017, as on file with the town clerk. Number two, shall the Clinton Town Charter be amended to provide for the hiring of a town planner, as recommended in the final report of the Charter Revision Commission of June 20th, 2017, as on file with the town clerk. Question number three, shall additional provisions of the Clinton Town Charter be amended other than as provided in questions 1 and 2 above, all as recommended in the final report for the Charter Revision Commission of June 20th, 2017, and as on file with the town clerk? Those are clear, concise, and to the point.
And Ellen, to your question at the beginning, typically, when you go in, there's usually a table there that has the document showing the changes that are related to these questions for people to look at.
Any other questions?
Just so long as it's
Yeah.
mentioned, so long as it's clear in the minutes of this meeting or whatever.
Yeah, they reference the date, and then usually there's an informational document, not pro or against, but it just says, these are the changes that are proposed.
And the questions, as I had submitted them, are based upon questions that have been used in a large number of other towns within the state, and that
It was
is particularly.
well thought out, but just too many.
It's very long, it's very detailed.
And a little too confusing for some folks.
Especially with the municipal election ballot that we're talking about with all of those names, and you have to flip both sides of the document over to vote and all that stuff.
Can I throw something out that I thought of last night, that might, it's just a thought for you guys, whatever. Do you think the fire commission question should be separated out? Or is that okay to be in
I think that should be,
within everything else?
I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to throw it out that it was something about.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the questions. Second.
Any discussion? In favor? Louder.
Aye.
All right.
So now what
Opposed, abstained, motion carried.
do we do regarding the vote? We have to have a
I
vote.
think we have to make a motion to,
Well, John, 15 months to
Take
send it to
15
referendum.
months.
We've already decided.
15 months from
From the
certification, so you've got 14 and a half months, you can wait that
So we don't do that
long.
tonight.
But,
We don't have to do that today.
no, if you don't want to, I mean, you need to make a determination at some point that you're going
I
to do
think
it.
we need to make a motion at least.
But that date will always stand, 14 and a half, or 15 months from that date of the certification.
That's the outside.
Okay,
Right.
so even if we came back and visited, went to put this on the calendar in 6 months, that would be
Or-
reduced from
Or,
that.
or sooner.
Can it go on with the budget referendum?
You can do anything you want to, there's no preclusion on that.
Right. Just to save a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Bruce, you have a question?
Just,
Yes, Al?
there's a different electorate for the budget, that's all,
Correct.
that's voters, it's not electors,
Correct.
so it'll be a little bit more complicated.
I was just thinking that financially,
Can they vote on this if they're not there with financial interest? Because the budget referendum, you can vote with financial interest, but is this something that
This is
they only do?
Yeah.
So how do you switch, how do you?
yeah, so
So
it really
like
can't.
No, it would be tough.
Yeah.
You'd have to have two separate
Different ballots and all.
So
ballots.
it'll end up being a special referendum.
But also, regardless when this goes to referendum, if it's an upvote within 30 days.
That's why everything has to be in place.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
don't you think we should do
so
that?
regardless of anything, we have to move forward with the premise of a town manager. We have to have everything in place
As if,
as
Yeah,
if.
Right.
there's a
Pass.
yeah.
that's the
Otherwise,
question.
we're
Yeah,
gonna see
okay.
a position. where we're
Otherwise,
at.
we're the same thing now.
And you don't know who's gonna be here.
Exactly.
Well, that doesn't mean we can't just start on a job
Yes, we
description.
have to,
Well, I understand,
We
that's.
are here, so.
and we have a responsibility to do this now. So John, how would we craft this thing to use the,
Well, you approve the
15
questions
months.
and then you would
We did that.
pick a date or not, or you can wait for your board to pick the date. I mean, that's, I don't have an observation for you on that. It's just that it has to be established by the Board of Selectmen as the appointing authority within 15 months from the
So
certification.
statutorily, we're required to do it anyway. I don't think we need a motion. I mean, I think it goes without saying that it goes to referendum within 14 months.
Well, yeah, but you're gonna need to establish a date for it. They don't need to do it right
Well,
now. They
I
don't want
think we
to.
need one meeting to discuss what has to be done before we start
That's what I
thinking
said.
about
Oh, I
how
see
much
what you're
time
saying.
we
That's
need.
why
Yeah.
my point to you.
I don't want to do
Oh,
it
that's
right
fine.
now.
That's your choice.
Yeah, my point to you is what needs to be done as far as affecting the change
Yeah.
regarding the form of government that we currently have.
Perfect. Okay, well, we can have those conversations and you don't need to necessarily establish a date right now.
Right.
If you'd like to.
Logistically, and I know it's short notice, but logistically, you want to do it at some point during the budget process so that the money can be set aside in the next year, in the next budget.
For two- both positions.
Yeah.
probably do. Okay, so I agree with all of you. We need at least one more meeting to really set it on the direction that we're looking at.
Yeah.
We'll make a motion to table the decision and send it to referendum so we can discuss it.
Have a second, John? Okay. Any further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Tough one, folks. And everybody worked really hard. Charter Revision Commission. We thank you for your work.